We're counting down the 10 Texas cities most at risk of turning into ghost towns as the housing market cools in 2025. From suburbs where unsold homes are piling up to boom towns facing investor exits and outmigration, these rankings are driven by surging inventory, falling demand, and mounting financial stress. Which city faces the sharpest downturn? Let's begin our countdown with number 10. Katy, a fast-growing suburb on Houston's western edge, now finds itself at the forefront of Texas's housing slowdown. In 2025, active home listings in Katy surged by approximately 35% compared to last year, according to Houston Association of Realtors data. Rows of newly built model homes stand unsold for months in some master-planned communities, a sharp contrast to the bidding wars seen just a few years ago. Builders who once raced to keep up with demand are now offering incentives to move excess inventory. The supply of homes has outpaced the number of buyers, especially as higher mortgage rates and affordability challenges keep many on the sidelines. While Houston's diverse job market provides some insulation from deeper trouble, Katy's rapid expansion has left it especially vulnerable to a mismatch between supply and demand. For buyers, this means more choices and negotiating power, but sellers must adjust expectations and prepare for longer waits. Katy's story is a warning. Even strong suburbs can stumble when overbuilding collides with cooling demand. Aubrey, a small exurb north of Dallas, felt the shock of a single builder's decision in March 2025. D.R. Horton, the nation's largest home builder, abruptly paused a major phase of its Silverado development. The announcement rippled through the community almost overnight. Subcontractors received layoff notices, and dozens of construction crews packed up before sunrise. Within weeks, Denton County permit records showed a spike in withdrawals as smaller builders and suppliers scrambled to reassess their own projects. Local reports noted a sharp drop in city tax revenue projections, with officials warning of budget shortfalls if home sales didn't rebound quickly. For sale signs began to linger on the edge of new cul-de-sacs, and open houses drew little interest. Realtors described a market in stasis, buyers waiting for deeper discounts, sellers growing anxious as days on market stretched past 90. In Aubrey, the dependence on a single developer left the local housing economy exposed. While the broader DFW region still benefits from job growth, the Silverado pause revealed just how fragile the outer exurbs can be when confidence evaporates. Kyle, a once sleepy town south of Austin, became a magnet for investors during the pandemic housing surge. In 2021, more than a third of homes sold in Kyle went to investors, driving prices to record highs and fueling a building frenzy at the edges of town. That story has unraveled quickly. By summer 2025, median home prices in Kyle have fallen 18% from their peak, according to Austin Board of Realtors data. Days on market now average over 120, with more than 40% of listings showing price cuts, one of the highest rates in the Austin metro. Local agents describe open houses where nobody shows, and entire blocks of new homes sitting vacant. Many investor-owned properties are underwater, and CoreLogic reports a sharp uptick in foreclosure filings since early 2024. Some homeowners who bought at the top are now trapped in negative equity, unable to sell without taking a loss. The investor sell-off has left Kyle with a glut of unsold homes and a market searching for a new bottom. For buyers, patience may pay off, but sellers face tough choices. A rebound will depend on lower rates and renewed job growth in Austin's tech sector. Until then, the market correction in Kyle is likely to continue. Seguin, a city on the eastern edge of the San Antonio metro, has seen its housing market slow to a crawl in 2025. Once promoted as an affordable alternative to San Antonio proper, Seguin now faces a different reality. Homes are sitting unsold for longer than almost anywhere else in the region. According to the San Antonio Board of Realtors, The average listing in the metro area takes about 83 days to sell, but in Seguin, that wait can stretch even further. New subdivisions have sprung up on former ranch land, but many of these homes remain empty. Builders pulled permits in anticipation of steady demand, yet absorption has lagged far behind expectations. The core challenge for Seguin is economic. Unlike the northern suburbs, which benefit from large employers and tech campuses, Seguin's job growth has been modest. The city's biggest employers are manufacturing plants and local services, offering limited new opportunities. With mortgage rates hovering above 6.5% and wages failing to keep pace, many would-be buyers are priced out or simply unwilling to commit to a long commute into San Antonio. Anecdotes from local agents describe open houses with no visitors and entire streets of new homes where the only movement comes from maintenance crews. For sellers, patience is now essential, and price reductions have become the norm. Buyers have more leverage, but many are waiting to see if prices will fall further. Any meaningful rebound for Seguin will likely require a pickup in local hiring and improved transportation links to San Antonio. Until then, the city stands as a warning. Without strong job anchors or easy access to urban centers, even affordable markets can become stuck in neutral. In Corpus Christi, the slowdown has taken on a distinctly coastal shape. The city's economy leans heavily on tourism, but 2025 brought the first real contraction in leisure and hospitality jobs since the pandemic years. According to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, local tourism employment fell by nearly 3% in the first half of the year, as fewer visitors booked summer rentals and hoteliers pulled back on hiring. This downturn has hit the second home market especially hard. Builders who once targeted out-of-town buyers with vacation home communities along the bayfront are now delaying or outright canceling projects. Several planned developments in Flower Bluff and North Padre remain stalled, with empty lots and unfinished streets where sales offices once promised quick closings. For those still hoping to buy, a new obstacle has emerged: skyrocketing insurance premiums. Coastal property insurance rates have jumped by as much as 30% compared to 2023, driven by a string of costly weather events and tightening underwriting standards. Many would-be buyers have balked at the added expense, forcing sellers to cut prices or offer incentives just to keep deals alive. Real estate agents report open houses with little foot traffic, and listings for vacation homes now linger for months. Unlike inland markets, where commute times or job growth are the main concern, Corpus Christi faces a dual hit: shrinking tourism jobs and rising ownership costs. Until the city's economy diversifies and insurance rates stabilize, the housing market here is likely to remain stuck in neutral, with both buyers and builders waiting for a clearer horizon. El Paso's housing market stands apart from the rest of Texas. For one reason, the city's rhythm is set by the movement of soldiers and families in and out of Fort Bliss. Every year, the Army's rotation schedule brings short bursts of demand. When new cohorts arrive, listings are snapped up quickly, full price offers become common, and for a few weeks, the market feels almost overheated. But once the transfer window closes, the pace drops off sharply. Homes that don't sell during these periods can sit for months, with days on market well above the state average. According to El Paso MLS data, properties listed outside of the main rotation months in 2025 took nearly 120 days to sell, compared to just 30 days during peak transfer season. Investor interest is limited, since the city's price growth is steady but unspectacular, and most buyers are local or military families. Migration flows show little in-migration from other Texas metros, keeping demand closely tied to the base's schedule. Real estate agents say sellers have learned to time their listings to coincide with incoming transfers, while buyers who can wait often find better deals in the off-season. The volatility here is significant, but it's also predictable. El Paso's fortunes rise and fall with the Army calendar. For those navigating this market, Understanding the timing of military moves is just as important as watching mortgage rates or inventory levels. Beaumont, anchored by its long-standing ties to the energy industry, is wrestling with the fallout from a policy gamble that failed to deliver. In 2022, city officials approved an ambitious tax abatement package for a wave of new liquefied natural gas developments, betting that the incentives would spark job growth and a surge in local housing demand. 3 years later, the results are starkly different. Many of the promised projects remain unfinished or idle, leaving dozens of newly built homes vacant in subdivisions that once buzzed with construction. According to local tax records, the number of unsold spec homes has doubled since 2023, with builders reporting an inventory backlog they never anticipated. The city's 2025 budget now faces a multi-million-dollar shortfall, as projected property tax revenue from these developments fails to materialize. The volatility of the energy sector only deepens the challenge. Layoffs at petrochemical plants and LNG facilities have rippled through the community, shrinking the pool of qualified buyers just as new homes flood the market. Realtors describe entire blocks where for sale signs have become a fixture, and open houses are sparsely attended, even with deep discounts. The city's gamble on energy incentives has exposed a new layer of risk, compounding the familiar boom and bust cycles tied to global oil prices. For Beaumont, recovery will depend on rebalancing supply, diversifying the local economy, and restoring fiscal stability. Until then, both buyers and sellers face a market shaped as much by policy missteps as by the unpredictable swings of the energy industry. Waco, the heart of Central Texas, is experiencing a different kind of housing chill, one that begins in the classroom. Over the past year, Waco ISD has reported a steady, if modest, decline in student enrollment, mirroring a slow but persistent outflow of families from the area. Teachers describe smaller class sizes and quieter hallways, a subtle but telling sign that fewer young families are putting down roots. This trend, while not dramatic, is reshaping the local housing market in ways numbers alone can't capture. According to the latest Texas Education Agency figures, Waco ISD's enrollment has edged downward by a few percentage points each year since 2021, with the 2024 to 2025 school year continuing that pattern. Local real estate agents are noticing the impact. Listings in family-friendly neighborhoods are sitting longer, and sellers are more likely to accept offers below asking price just to move on. The median home value in Waco has slipped by 3.4% year over year, and properties now average 81 days on the market, a significant jump from the fast-paced sales of the early 2020s. Behind these numbers is a broader demographic shift. Some families are leaving for job opportunities in larger cities, others are drawn to newer suburbs with larger homes and better amenities. Meanwhile, the pipeline of new buyers isn't keeping up. Local employers have not announced major expansions, and the city's steady but unspectacular job growth has failed to attract a new wave of residents. As a result, inventory is rising, and agents describe open houses with only a handful of visitors, if any. For Waco homeowners, the message is clear. Patience and realistic pricing are now essential. Any turnaround will likely depend on renewed migration into the area or a significant boost in local hiring. Until then, the quiet in Waco's schools may be the first sign of a community slowly hollowing out, with the housing market following close behind. Midland and Odessa have always lived and died by the oil cycle, but 2025 has brought a new kind of whiplash. When oil prices climbed in early spring, Baker Hughes reported Permian rig counts surging past 350. Investors poured into the market, snapping up homes and driving prices to fresh highs. By midsummer, the tide reversed. Rig activity tumbled nearly 20% in just 3 months, taking hundreds of jobs with it. The impact on housing was immediate. Local MLS data flagged a spike in vacant investor properties. More than 1,100 homes now sit empty across Midland and Odessa, a record for the region. Banks are watching nervously. Lenders have begun tightening credit, worried that the flood of investor-owned homes could turn into a wave of distressed sales if energy markets stay soft. Realtors describe entire subdivisions where for lease and for sale signs outnumber occupied homes, especially in neighborhoods built during the last boom. Open houses in new developments often draw more curious neighbors than serious buyers. Some builders have paused projects mid-frame, unwilling to risk adding more inventory when demand is so uncertain. Unlike markets driven by steady population growth or diversified economies, Midland's fortunes are tied almost entirely to oil. When rigs go idle, workers leave, and the housing market stalls overnight. Even experienced investors have been caught off guard by the speed of this reversal. The volatility here is sharper than anywhere else in Texas. Prices can rise or fall thousands of dollars in a single quarter, and the difference between boom and bust is measured in weeks, not years. For buyers, there's opportunity, but only for those willing to ride out the next cycle. Sellers face a hard truth. Without a rebound in oil demand, it may take years for inventory to clear. Midland's story is a warning about the dangers of tying a housing market to a single unpredictable commodity. Celina, on the northern fringe of the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex, now stands as the clearest example of how fast a boomtown can tip toward bust. In 2023 and 2024, developers poured into Celina, betting that surging migration and high demand would fill thousands of new homes. By late 2025, those bets have run into a wall of reality. According to NTREIS data, Celina's active listings have ballooned to nearly 2,500 homes, an inventory level that dwarfs the number of actual buyers in the market. The median home price has dropped more than 6% from a year earlier, with some new construction neighborhoods reporting even steeper declines. Builders who once raced to buy up land are now struggling to unload finished spec homes. Public filings from major developers show pre-sale cancellation rates running as high as 22% in the third quarter of 2025, a sharp jump from the single-digit rates seen just 2 years ago. In master-planned communities like Light Farms and Mustang Lakes, entire rows of new houses sit dark and unsold. Open houses have turned into quiet afternoons, with agents waiting hours for a single visitor. The problem isn't just too many homes, it's also the strain on local infrastructure. City planning records reveal that more than 5,000 lots are still in the pipeline, but basic roadways and utilities haven't kept pace with the rapid build-out. Residents face long commutes on congested highways, and new schools and shopping centers lag behind the housing surge. For buyers, the promise of a vibrant new community is at odds with the reality of empty streets and unfinished amenities. In response, builders are offering aggressive incentives, rate buy-downs, closing credits, and price cuts of 4 to 5% off list price to entice buyers and clear backlog. Yet even these deals haven't stemmed the tide of cancellations or slowed the rise in unsold inventory. Local realtors describe a market where sellers must compete not just with each other, but with national builders slashing prices to move product. Many would-be buyers are waiting, convinced that prices have further to fall. Celina's situation is a warning for anyone watching the Texas housing market. When speculative building outpaces real demand, and when infrastructure can't keep up, the risk isn't just a temporary slowdown, but a prolonged period of stagnation. Recovery here will depend on lower interest rates, renewed job growth, and a pause in new construction to let oversupply clear. Until then, both buyers and sellers should focus on long-term fundamentals, not the hype of yesterday's boom. From Katy's inventory surge to Celina's speculative overbuild, our countdown of 10 Texas cities reveals a clear pattern: oversupply, slowing sales, and affordability stress are transforming once booming markets into areas where homes now sit unsold for months. The most shocking entries, like Midland's oil-driven whiplash and Waco's enrollment plunge, show how deep the risks run when jobs or population growth disappear. Across every city, rapid construction and high mortgage rates left buyers wary and sellers facing tough choices. Yet not every market is doomed. Areas with strong job bases or infrastructure may stabilize first if rates fall or growth returns. The real lesson? A city's housing market is only as resilient as its fundamentals. In 2025, treating every Texas town like the next Austin or Dallas proved costly. For buyers, sellers, and investors alike, this list is a stark reminder. In today's market, caution and research matter far more than hype.